Who am I talking with?
Steve Embry. How are you, Kevin?
I'm doing pretty well. How are you doing? And we're getting some background noise because Jack's on in 10 minutes.
Right.
We're going to get it right there.
I didn't know you did so well.
So Steve, you used to practice law.
I did.
In the realest sense.
I did.
Large
4
firm.
years than I want to think about.
How many years?
30-something.
Yeah. Large firm.
Large firm. Law 200.
Yep. Doing what generally?
Mass tort, defense of mass tort cases. Toward the end of my career, some cybersecurity and privacy and interesting things like that.
On behalf of insurers and corporations.
Yeah. Always on the defense side, yeah.
And then,
except for once. I had a plaintiff's case one time, which was a whole lot of fun.
Yeah, that's what I did.
I know.
That's a show. Yeah. And you gave it all up.
I did.
When?
A year ago, well, May 31st, 2018 was my last day.
Yeah, and so I've asked to talk with you from the standpoint of an entrepreneur, because you're an entrepreneur in every sense of the word.
Right.
So you have the trappings of a large firm, drive to the law office. What city?
Louisville, Kentucky.
Louisville, Kentucky, and you said, that's it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do this anymore.
Yep.
What made you do that decision?
Well, I was writing stuff on technology. I started out writing stuff on cybersecurity and data breach, trying to get business. And then I started writing about the law and technology, and I was having more fun doing that than practicing law. And you actually put the idea in my head. You said, why don't you start a blog? So I started a blog, and every morning I got up to work on a blog was a good day. Every morning I got up to go practice law was like a, So after thinking about that for longer than I should have, I thought, I'm going to do what I really want to do for a change.
Right.
And so I left and started to beefed up the blog, started doing some consulting, and it's been great. It's been great.
So what's day in and day out for Steve Embry these days?
Well,
really, you're busy. You're here in San Diego.
Yep.
You're on your way to New York after this.
I am.
What are you going to be doing in New York?
I'm going to a cyber insurance security conference put on by Advisor, which is a nice group. But a typical day, it's a little different being on your own, because for 30 years, every morning I'd get up, I'd get cleaned up, I'd get in the car, I'd drive to work, and put my head down and bill hours, right? Now, I get up, it's like, all right, what am I going to do today? Well, I've got a post I've got to write. Well, there's a baseball game this afternoon, and I really would like to go. I'll do that post tomorrow. So it took me about 6 months before I finally said, I've got to put some discipline to this. I've got to have some goals and requirements. I try to post every week something, try to go to conferences, but I've set goals, and I make a calendar what I'm going to block time for every day, and that's really got me more disciplined, because without that and without somebody driving you to do stuff, too many days of going to baseball games and nobody knows who you are anymore.
So your name has grown. I see it bounce around the internet because I live on the internet. But how does that all come about? This persona of being a lawyer that's known by the defense industry and whatnot, to now getting out and building a name, relationships, and a level of influence through the internet.
Right.
What would you tell somebody about that? How did this all come about?
Well, it's always about content, right? No matter what form, and good content. But you also have to network and you have to connect. I do a lot of connections on Twitter and LinkedIn. I set aside time every day to go through content, to push out on the social media platforms, to comment on something you've written or somebody else has written, and give some perspective from where I've been about stuff. So that's an ongoing discipline every day. And then when I post stuff, I've always pushed that stuff out. But going to these conferences and talking to people, there's still no substitute for that.
But people might tend to know who you are, which is the interesting thing. When you stick out your hand and they go, I read you.
What's really interesting is when I first started, I would go to these and I'd be sticking my hand out. Now I go to these and somebody will say, hey, Steve, come over here and talk. I don't even know who they are, and they shake my hand, which is really kind of nice.
Yeah, the first time I met you, I think we were in Chicago, and it may have been Clio or maybe a tech show. And I looked over and I go, why are you here?
Right.
I mean, because
You did.
I'm sitting there
having a
thinking,
beer.
I'm old enough.
Yeah.
You're old.
Yeah.
You're kind of looking around like, why are you here?
Yeah.
And
It was
I'm in a large firm. You're in a large firm,
Right.
and I'm going, okay, tell me about this.
Yeah, it was at Tech Show, and we were having a beer. We were
Yeah.
in a bar, and I think we kind of bumped into each other, and I remember the conversation.
Yeah, because I was intrigued that from coming from a large firm that you were out at a conference like that, and I think you're.
So was my firm.
Yeah, I know. And that's about what you said. and you said something to the effect that I don't think the model of large firms can continue forever. And I'd like to look at the business of law in a more innovative way than maybe what they are.
Yeah.
And it may not be found inside a large firm. Going back to something you said, relating to content, because I'm not sure it's just content where you put words up on the wall, where you said you might reference something that somebody else said. I've always looked at blogging, if you will, is networking through the internet.
Right.
So I might see something that Steve wrote, and I reference it and provide my take.
Right.
And by virtue of that, you see it.
Yeah.
And you've now entered into that room of people that are talking on a subject.
Right.
It could be on cybersecurity issues, it could be on anything. And all of a sudden people are starting to see you milling around. And you get known by people you're like, wow, I can't believe these people are paying attention to me. I don't know if you feel that sensation.
I did. And when you put something out there and you get like I just wrote a piece about the Denton's acquisition of a couple of firms, and I stuck it out there, and it got a lot of hits, and including some people at Denton's, which was kind of nice because I don't know many people there, and to get that kind of credibility with people it's a good feeling, and you get to have some conversations too. Every now and then they're not fun conversations. I had one guy that just ripped me a new one over something.
Everybody's got their stake. No, I mean sometimes I don't ever look at my stats, but I tend to, when I share an excerpt of a post in LinkedIn, enough for people to get the gist of it, and then that thing comes up that says who's looked at it, and you're looking at the companies, and mine's Price Waterhouse, Ernst and Young, and Denton's, these large firms.
Hi.
How you doing?
Mike.
That's all right.
How are you, Kevin?
We'll see you later. Okay. But you're seeing who's looking at this thing.
Right. Well, you make connections you could never make otherwise.
Right.
You told me one time, it's like a digital handshake with these people, and that's really true. I mean, it's people I never would have met, never would have had any contact with, but for the content that I'm putting out there and stuff that they're reading.
What would you tell a lawyer, that's closer to our age, that's in a larger firm, and maybe they've done all right by themselves over the years, where maybe they have the opportunity to do something different as opposed to just wind things down and go home.
Right.
What does the world today, the innovation and the internet provide them?
Well, it gives you an opportunity to do stuff you never could do and reach people you never could reach, but you've got to decide to do it. And that's the thing that I found. When I left the firm, I had lots of people come up to me and say, "Boy, that's really cool what you're doing. I wish I could do something like that." And I was, well, you can. I mean, it's like it's not a closed society here. You can, but a lot of people I see go through their end of their career and they can't make a change.
Right.
Like, they've always been a lawyer. They don't know anything else but being a lawyer, and it's not only what they do; it's who they are.
Right.
And I was never that enamored with practicing law that it became who I was.
Right. No, you're a great story. You're a role model for more people than you probably imagine.
Well, I hope so. It's you really have, and I've given this talk to people before. You have to decide to do it. It's great to daydream about it.
Right.
I daydreamed about it for 2 years, but once you do it, you take the plunge, then everything changes, and that's where people don't. That's where people fall down. Is they think about doing something really cool and different, and then they just never do it. You got to finish the job.
Thank you very much, sir.
My pleasure. See you soon.
That you will. Watch, take that cord.
Thank you.